Right, Jacques, we have one question. So it's on the chat from Antoine, who says, out of all of what you said, what most caught my attention was you're saying, becoming a magician. Can you please expand on that? Thank you.
Great. So thanks for your question. Yeah, becoming a magician, I guess, has got two aspects. One of them could be becoming a ritual magician, but that's not literally what this course is about. But ritual magic is about working with elements, working with intention in a held space in order to really focus our intention on what we want to create. But becoming a magician in the broader sense is, and I'll use the imagery of astrology. There's kind of an axiom that says, the fool is ruled by his or her stars, whereas the wise person rules his or her stars. And what that means is, when we are less conscious, we are controlled by the puppet strings of external forces. But as our light within grows, and if we imagine those puppet strings are like filaments of light, let's just use the metaphor of astrology. If those filaments of light are our puppet strings and we're ruled by those forces, our lesser, dimmer light can be controlled by those filaments of light. But as our light grows, as we expand our light and our agency in the world, we are no longer at the mercy of those filaments. And again, that's not at all to say that astrology is less in any way. It's just to say that we can learn to use the lessons of something like astrology, for example, as a map of our soul and our being, so that in understanding ourselves and in understanding what the stars or the planets are doing, we can then use those forces in order to create the lives that we want. So becoming the magician in our lives is about learning to create, to manifest, to attract the sort of life that we want to create. But again, it's one thing to say, oh, I'm going to create this wonderful life and I'm really happy and I'm just going to do it and it's going to be so easy, I've changed my mind. We have to viscerally experience becoming a new person and a new being. And we have to viscerally have a new relationship with ourselves and the world before we can truly change the lives outside. And that, of course, is what these deep practices are about. Ritual magic, for example, is a kind of a formalized way of creating the space, symbolic space, to create magic. Breathwork, which we're going to be going into now, is one of the ways of stepping out of the constructed mind, the everyday distracted mind, and to enter that space of mystery where we can gain the intuitions and the insights that we need in order to live differently. And then, of course, from there we've got like shamanic sessions or ceremonies, psychedelic sessions where huge epiphany happens. I mean, that can happen through a near-death experience as well. Maybe a near-death experience is less controlled. When we do kind of deep trance shamanic work, we kind of go in with an intention that we're gonna break beyond in a powerful way, and then hopefully be reborn. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. So to talk about breath work, again, just given what I've just spoken about in terms of kind of what's out there, breath work is probably the most accessible way that we can reach deep trance. So that can range from like meditative breath work to something like holotropic breath work, which is a 3-hour session. Jeroen, I saw you raised your hand.
Yeah, there was one question from what you were sharing, I guess. But what if you, as a person or ego, feels punished by the roadmap of astrology because it's not what the ego or personality wants?
Okay. I believe that in, let's say, astrology or any kind of symbolic system, even in terms of archetypes, there's always there's a positive and there's a negative aspect to everything, and everything is an opportunity to learn. So, for example, if you feel punished by astrology, it's like, okay, what are the lessons? Number one. But also, what are the light sides of certain planets or certain positions or certain aspects in your astrology chart? Because there's always a growth and a light side in that. You know, each one of the planets, they've got a dark and a light side, just as each tarot card has got a dark and a light side. And it's the lesson on the one hand, but that's also the mystery of each one of those things is, you know, let me just use an example. You know, the planet of Saturn, which is the archetype Kronos in mythology. Saturn is the planet of limitation, of boundaries. The lesson there is to learn to set the boundaries. But then part of then beyond that, the deeper mystery is what is beyond those boundaries, and how do I create good boundaries in my life in order to learn how to transcend boundaries and to see what the mystery is beyond those boundaries. And very often, you know, Saturn gives us, for example, external limitations in our life, things that hold us back in life, you know, external factors. But when we can learn to internalize them, and when we can, for example, through study and meditation, find the light side of Saturn, we learn new things. For example, the god Saturn in Roman mythology was the king of the Golden Age. Even though you've got the story of, you know, him being kicked out of heaven by Zeus, he's also that he then becomes the king of the Golden Age. And what does that mean? How do you become the king or queen of your own Golden Age, let's say? How do you learn to let those limitations become your gifts? Okay, so with breathwork, we'll explore a few different processes in this journey. Today's breathwork is a seated breathwork. Next week we'll do rebirthing breathwork, which is a lying down breathwork. So it's kind of a different experience. Obviously, when we do lying down breathwork, we can kind of really let go and surrender. When we're seated, there's a little bit more of a meditative aspect to it. But again, there's so much to talk about with breathwork. The basic idea, first of all, to remember always, is when you change the way that you breathe, you're changing the frequency of your brain. You're changing what's happening in your resonance. So when we breathe slower, we tend to go into a deeper frequency, like a theta or a delta frequency of the brain. So that takes us into states similar to sleep and obviously deep meditation. When we're breathing in an alpha mode, it's sort of that is when we are relaxed, that is when we're in meditation. And then there is the gamma mode, or the beta mode first, which is just our kind of normal breathing day to day, when we're doing things, when we're walking, when we're distracted. It's kind of a bit of an erratic breathing way, and that kind of reflects our erratic thought. So when we take control of our breath, when we change the way that we breathe, we change what happens in our body, and then we change our relationship also to our psychology. So we change how we experience ourselves and how we experience the world. We expand out of the left side of the brain, because usually when we're dealing with the world, we're in the left side of the brain, the more rational, analytical side. We expand out of that, and then we bring about kind of brain integration, with the left and the right side work together. That allows sort of the flow of information between the two hemispheres, the creative and the analytical, the poetic and the nuts and bolts. It also opens up neuroplasticity, which means it allows new relationships to be created within the makeup of the brain. You know, when we are conditioned to think and see and experience in certain ways, our brains create synaptic pathways, which which as a behavior or a way of seeing is reinforced, those synaptic pathways become larger, like almost like highways of information. So when we're in kind of fight or flight functioning, when we're in the world and distracted by the world, these synaptic pathways fire in preset or predetermined ways. So when we go into trance, those, let's say the boundaries of those pathways soften, so that new pathways, new relationships can start to form. Those synapses can fire and create new relationships. And when we have a very powerful experience, for example, where a new pathway has been opened, and it's so powerful, it's so emotional, that creates a new relationship, that creates a new connection within the brain that rewires you literally. So that softening is what we want to go into. That is what we want to create, so that we can go into new ways of seeing and understanding ourselves. And that is done simply through breathing, through going into the trance. Of course, when we breathe, we're breathing prana energy or chi energy or life force energy, which is that energy that feeds us. So we're breathing that energy in. We're literally breathing in, filling ourselves up with this higher, this nourishing energy. And then we breathe out, we're letting go of the old, we're letting go of what has been displaced. So if you look at the etymology of the Latin languages, the word for breathe in, inhale is inspiración in Spanish, or inspiration in French. So it's taking spirit in, breathing spirit in. And the word for exhale is expiration, which is expiring, dying to letting the spirit out, letting the spirit of the old out. And the word for breathing in Spanish is respiración, which means to re-spirit ourselves. So we're re-spiriting with every breath. So in prana, life force energy, out the old. And that's kind of all you need to think about or remember at this stage. And you don't even need to think about it. Just the act of breathing is putting you into that meditation. So that re-spiriting, every breath is a re-spiriting, putting in new prana, letting go of the old. At some point, what might happen is that conscious breathing of prana kind of fills you up with energy. And the places in which that energy is blocked and constricted might cause pain, or it might cause discomfort, either emotionally or physically. And that is, of course, where the breathwork is really starting to work, where it's starting to change what's happening inside of you. And if you just keep breathing, it's going to open those pathways. It's going to reach a state of balance within you. Because again, of course, this breathwork is about restoring balance between the four elements of the body. So between the mind and the emotions, between the mind and the earth, the body, between the mind and our fire, which is our inspiration. As we empty space of all the clutter that has held us back, we make space for more of the divine. We make space for more of the inspiration. Literally, the inspiración, inspiration. Inspiration is the divine's way of talking to us so that we can do things in the world, so that through our creative faculties we build this external world that is more in alignment with, let's say, our values. So the breathwork model we're going to follow for this is a seated model, and it's the cosmic tree model of breathwork. And the idea of this is we're becoming a tree, in the sense that we imagine, feel, sense our roots, our connection to the earth, and that earth nourishes the earth and the water of our being. Because remember, the roots get nourishment from the earth, from the water. So we're starting off in the first phase of this breath work, balancing out the body and the emotions, as well as connecting to the underworld, which is our deeper spiritual connection, which is our ancestral connection, which is our connection to divine hidden knowledge. Let's not forget that the god of the underworld in Greek mythology is Hades, also known as Pluto. Pluto means the rich one, and jewels and gold are found under the earth. That is the place where this comes from. So we're first of all nourishing from the underworld, and then so in the first phase of breathing, we're imagining breathing that energy up from the earth up into the heart. So it's and then expanding. And then in the second phase, we're going to be breathing the light, the fire, and the air from above. The leaves of the trees receive light, they breathe air. So we're bringing that light, that energy, that celestial energy in from above. So it's and then spreading it throughout our being. And then in the third phase, we're breathing from both at once. So from below and above at once. You don't have to do the hand movements, that's just to kind of illustrate how it's going. But so what we're doing is we're breathing with a little bit of an intention. And you don't need to get stuck on the intention. You don't need to think, oh my goodness, I'm not feeling the earth enough. Doesn't matter. Just breathe with that intention of bringing up from below, bringing down from above. And then eventually those two energies meet in the heart. And of course the heart is the energy of love on the one hand. The heart is the energy of unity, of attraction, of drawing. The heart is our connection to the sun, the sun as the center of our solar system, which holds a magnetism and an attraction. So in breathing in this way, we then empower our heart, our force of attraction, our ability to radiate in the world. And what can happen throughout that process is very strong emotional responses, either flowing with it, being in ecstasy, or experiencing some of the pains or the traumas. But that's not really the intention of this breath work. There are other techniques to heal and relive trauma. And I think just for the purpose of the intention of this session, let's work with bringing in those higher forces and letting them heal. We don't have to explore the trauma in this work. And also you can then have very psychedelic experiences. You can see colors, you can see flashes, you can see actual visions, episodes, experiences of something entering the mythical realm. The myths, the stories that are told in myth kind of exist on another plane. And when we open through trance, we can actually go into that mythical world. We can experience either ourself or an impersonal experience as this mythic realm, this mythic experience. So we can enter that mythical realm. Always when we as individuals enter that mythical realm, it's always because it has a lesson for us, or it's showing us something about our journey. And it's often both. It's personal, but it's also impersonal. So we can experience an impersonal myth, a story that's been told thousands of times before, but that then has relevance to our own personal life and experience. So whatever comes up in that regard is relevant to you. It can be very physical. As I said, there can be pain, there can be blockages. You might, let's say you get a blockage in your chest, you might just want to tap a little bit if need be, just to help the flow, to open the energy. What happens quite often, especially if you haven't done much breath work before, is you might get tetany, where the hands kind of spasm and tighten up. It's nothing to be alarmed about. It goes away after a while, or it'll go away once you stop doing the breath work. It can be alarming. I have had people, even though I've explained that it's safe, people still get a bit freaked out by it sometimes, because it can be quite sore. There's not much you can do about it. It's maybe you can kind of knock your wrists together a little bit. It's not a guarantee that it's going to go away. That tetany often on a, let's say, metaphysical level kind of relates to a sense of holding on too tight in life or in this process. So through the breathing, just work with letting go, that you can receive with ease, that, that you can give with ease, as opposed to sort of being constricted like that. And then, of course, you can just have just a sort of a very much experience of just being in the presence of the divine, in the divine light, in the fire. And of course, that's kind of what we're aiming for. But the whole idea of all breathwork sessions is through the breath, getting out of our head into the breath, is to balance all the elements. And we'll talk about those in future sessions, because that balance of the elements is what's important in our body, in our being. In the modern world, we tend to be too much in the head, the air, and maybe sometimes too much in the body. And so there's this imbalance between the air and the earth, and that then can create sort of either mental problems or physical health problems, etc. So now, if you want to set up your space where you're going to do your breathing, as I said before, I suggest either sitting on a bed or sitting on a sofa, a couch, where you've got kind of space, you've got pillows around you. Again, I don't think you'll necessarily fall over, but maybe at the end you also just want to lie down and just be able to go on your side and just kind of surrender at the end of the experience. Being seated on a chair might, if you don't have experience with breathwork, might not feel very comfortable, and you might not really be able to let go completely. So the question here is, what happens if I fall asleep? And that's fine. It's actually not falling asleep, especially if you're seated. It's actually zoning out, but going into this other place. It's a good kind of zoning out. It's going into this other place where your head and your ego is out of the way, and the healing can just kind of take place beyond your head. It can take place on a sort of a deeper level. So that so-called falling asleep is just an opportunity to really let your body do what it needs to do to bring you back to balance. Because one of those things that I spoke about before, that imbalance between the head and the body, is that the head kind of gets in the way of things. It takes all the energy, which means that some of the functions in the body that need to be addressed, no energy is going there, no time is going there. An example is digestion. Often, we don't digest our food properly because we're so much in our heads and reacting to the world out there. So when you go into that sort of zoned out space, it just gives the body the space to readjust. It still works. It will still work even if you reach a point where you're sort of falling asleep. Okay, so we're going to go into the breathing now. So you can just follow my breathing to start, and then just keep the breathing going. You can breathe through your nose or your mouth, okay? Breathing through the mouth is a little bit more, maybe it's a little bit more in the body, a little bit more emotional. Breathing through the nose is, the breath gets purified, so it's a little bit more of a spiritual experience. No one is better than another. They both work on what is needed in the body. That is the main thing to remember. The body on the deeper level, the spirit on the deeper level knows exactly what you need. So the breathing is just opening the space for that to happen. So you can breathe through the nose or the mouth. And it's very important as well to keep your breath connected. So you will be doing a and not a so you're not going to have that gap, you're not going to have that pause in between the breath. That connected breathing kind of creates a pumping action, and that kind of just keeps that flow strong, so that eventually you break into that other space, that other world. Good. So seated, let's close our eyes, let's take a long deep breath. And now we're just going to go into the breathing cycle. So as you establish this rhythm, be aware of breathing energy from below, from the underworld, from the roots of your symbolic tree. And what you're doing is you're breathing nourishment up from below into your body. This is symbolic, it's metaphorical, it's also energetic. So you don't need to think about or understand any of that, just breathe. Good, and as you keep going like this, you might start to feel reactions in your body. Maybe tightness, maybe energy flows, maybe dizziness. It's absolutely fine and normal. There's no right or wrong. The only thing you need to be aware of and sure of is that you keep the rhythm constant. The in-breath is breathing in from below, from the roots, from the underworld, into your physical body. Breathing from that place of impersonal power into your personal space, your body. The inhale carries prana, fills you up. The exhale releases the old, the stuff you no longer need. The inhale nourishes, the exhale releases. Just breathe, you don't need to think about it. This is as much an experience of filling yourself up with the divine as it is an experience of letting go of the past. This is a complementary experience of allowing yourself to enter the unknown, the space in between, so that you can discover more of who you really are in that in-between space. On the inhale, just imagine you're drawing that power up from the earth. On the exhale, just letting go of all certainties. Power of the earth feeds you as you breathe in. Treasure from below, the treasure of your unconscious mind, the treasure from your ancestors. You breathe it in on the inhale. Through your breath, it creates a resonance in your body with that frequency. And on the exhale, just let go of the old conditions that have held you in a particular place. And in entering this place of the unknown, you enter the place of the mystery, willingness to experience the mystery. And now we're just going to breathe in together and hold it. Hold it in, that breath of expansion, that breath of holding in like we did before with the 44 breaths. Just hold and hold for a little bit longer, keep going. As you hold in this way, you expand your consciousness, your awareness. And now you can exhale. Breathe in briefly. And on the exhale, holding it out. It's almost as if you're sending those roots of the cosmic tree symbolically down, even deeper to greater depths below. Those greater depths that reach for the mystery in the underworld. Just hold out a little bit longer. Even if it's very uncomfortable, you can breathe out a little bit more, empty even more. And now you can breathe in. And now we're going to go back into the same breathing as before. Now as you breathe, you're aware of breathing up from above. So your inhale, you're drawing energy down from the heavens into your body, from the light above down into your body. And if you want to, you can just put your arms up, simulating a tree, as if your arms are branches reaching up. And that just allows you to capture those energies from above, and just keep your arms up if you can for a bit. From above, you're breathing the celestial light down into your body, into your heart. Your breath is the medium that brings this energy in. It enables it. Your breathing gives permission for this light to come down to fill you. Good. Just keep it constant. Just keep that breathing flowing. Just keep that breathing circular. Breathing in the divine from above. Breathing out to let go, to go beyond, into the unknown. You don't need to think about anything, just breathe with the intention of breathing these celestial energies from above, becoming like the cosmic tree, roots in the underworld, branches in the heavens, meeting in your body. This process will only be effective if you keep the breathing strong, if you get out of your head. You get out the old judgments, the old conditions, the old habits. If you open space through your breath to make space for direct divine grace, for direct divine revelation. Just keep it going a little bit more. Mystery is also the joy, it's also the love, it's also the ecstasy, standing outside of who you think you are, outside of what you know, to be humble enough to let God speak to you through you. And the breath is the medium of the divine, so just keep that flow strong by your conscious, connected breathing. And now you can breathe in again, hold it in. Hold in that expansive breath and just feel centered, feel that posture of uprightness, feel your center is the flow of that channel between the heavens above and the underworld below meeting in your heart. So if you want to adjust your posture, sit upright, open, hold it a little bit longer, and then exhale, inhale briefly, and on the exhale hold your breath out, empty. Breath of surrender, breath of death. And this place might feel scary, but this is also the place of getting closer to the unknown, the mystery. The mystery beyond the body, beyond the ego. So hold it out a little bit more, just push. A little bit more, and now you can breathe in, and as you breathe in you're just letting that life force back in and follow my rhythm. Good, keep going, and as you're breathing now, breathe from below down, from above up, and those breaths meet in your heart. They meet in your heart, and from your heart they expand on the exhale. So with every inhale, see the heavens and the below meeting in your heart, igniting on the exhale, expanding outwards. The in-breath draws those energies in from above and below, and the exhale spreads it throughout your being. Now your breathing can become a little bit deeper, a little bit slower, so that you can really relish that feeling of breathing in from below and above, and then on the exhale expanding. for integration. Feeling the power of the heavens and of the underworld. The underworld, which is that mythological realm, ancestral realm. Meeting the heavens, letting those different worlds meet within you. And this is all held and protected and filtered by your heart, which is your direct connection to your soul. And in so doing, the soul connection just roots you in your truest essence, like this tree is rooted in the deep earth. You're rooted in your deep ancestry, rooted in the power of where you come from. But beyond that, you expand into the heavens, expand into your future with those branches of this cosmic tree. Divine inspiration, divine grace that you breathe. Keep going a little bit longer like this. You can take your breathing even deeper if need be. But deep, powerful breathing, integrating the above with the below in your body, which is the bridge, the connection point. Now you can just relax your breathing and just be. If you want to lie back, that's fine. Just surrender. Just let go. Let the effects of your breath work flow through you, wash over you. This is the place for you to connect to your deeper knowing, access those different parts of yourself which the ego might not understand, to consciously make way for the divine. So let this be a place of peace, of integration, deep knowing, understanding, and also of inspiration. Perhaps you understand what you need to do to heal yourself. Perhaps you understand what you need to do to construct the life that you wish to create, to cultivate that which is of value to you. To love yourself, your loved ones, to love what you do in the world, to love the divine. So feeling expansion, a peace. Feeling a joy, perhaps even an ecstasy. Now just take another long, deep breath. Hold it a little bit, and then on the exhale, just sigh out. One more. Hold. want, you can just gently return by opening your eyes. If you're in a good space, you can also stay there. Perhaps there is some insight coming, inspiration coming. Just enjoy the peace, perhaps. Someone asks if it's normal to feel tingly and numbness. That's completely normal. The tingliness is just sort of energy flowing, energy running. The numbness as well. It's part of that process of release. Or the headache related to the release kind of toxins. And it's a good idea to, these sensations will pass pretty quickly, within 5 to 10 minutes. But if they don't pass, it's nothing to be alarmed about. Just stay relaxed, and things come back into balance. Anything else, Jeroen? Is there anything you wish to add or say or bring up?
Yeah, but first there's one other question I see. You've said it doesn't matter whether you breathe through your nose or mouth. Does it matter whether you breathe with your belly or your chest?
Right. Yes, it does always matter. They have different functions, but it's the reason why I'm not focusing on that at this stage is because I don't want people to get into their heads about, oh, I've got to breathe right. Breathing through the nose and mouth, there is a difference. Breathing through the belly and chest, there is a difference as well. The belly and chest breathing, the differences tend to be more when one does meditative breath work. I prefer to do sort of a more process-orientated breath work, which means it doesn't matter if it's belly and chest. There is a difference between nose and mouth, which we'll go into in later sessions. Sometimes the nose is blocked, so it's difficult, and we just don't need anything to get in the way of this process. Anything else, Jeroen? Any other questions?
There are no other questions, but I want to share something because I also
Yes.
breathe, of course, with you, and I'm always surprised when we breathe together, also online, that I can go much deeper into my own practice, and when I do it by myself, it's different. So maybe you can share something about that, because it's always fascinating me how that works.
Yeah. Well, as we know, time and space kind of don't exist. So when we're all focused in on one place here at the same time, not in the same space, but at the same time, our consciousness focuses in. And that, it kind of just is a fact that live sessions are more powerful than a recorded session. A recorded session is powerful because it kind of helps keep the mind focused, and it kind of helps keep you on track. But when there's like a live session, obviously our intentions are working together in order to make this powerful. And then, of course, first prize is always being able to do it in the same space as well, and to have that direct interaction. But that's not always possible, and doing it this way online isn't really that much of a compromise. Thanks, Jeroen.
Okay, thank you, Jacques. I think then it's time to come to a finish today. If people want to share how the experience was, please share in the chat, and we open it for a couple of minutes, because we always love to receive what you experience. I want to thank you, Jacques, that you offer this course. I think you give us a lot of information and wisdom today, and I think it gives a beautiful overview where we go deeper into in the next 3 sessions. So thank you for that. And I also want to thank Chiara and the Embassy of the Free Mind of hosting us tonight. And of course, I want to thank everybody who's here today. It's beautiful that we are together with a group from people all over the world. And we are looking forward to see you again. And if you want to join something, what we are doing in next summer, then you can always reach out to me or Jacques, and we are very easy to connect, and then we can share always more. So I think that's it for now, Jacques. Maybe you will say something to finish it fully.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeroen. Thank you for all your help. Thank you to Embassy of the Free Mind, Chiara, Marjolaine. It's been wonderful working with you, and such a venerable temple of Hermes, as I said before. So thank you for that opportunity, and of course all of you. Yeah, feel free, stay in contact, stay in touch, and we'll hopefully see you next week. If you do want to join next week, I think Chiara is also putting the link in the chat that you can join. But thank you, everyone. Again, as Jeroen said, we love to hear your feedback. So if you do want to just share something about how things went, feel free to do so. Jeroen, yes.
And there's one final question: is this breathing something you can do daily? And the answer is yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Apart from this YouTube session that will be available on my YouTube channel, there is also the 44 breaths available. Just Google my name, Jacques Theron, and Breathwork, or 44 breaths, and it'll come up on YouTube as well. So yes, it's you know, there's so much to talk about, but the 44 breaths is like a really good, quick way of getting into meditation. You know, many people want to meditate, but they kind of, you know, they say the brain gets in the way and they get distracted. Breathwork literally is the way to counter the distraction of the mind, because again, in terms of elements, the breath and the mind are related symbolically and energetically. So when you change the way you breathe, you literally change your mind, and you can enter that meditation space. So yes, you can do this daily.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening or afternoon, and we will see you soon. Thanks for joining.